Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Accountancy. Here I am with another question and the topic here share capital. But in this topic, what is the newest about us that one shareholder does not pay the amount of the share capital called up, what treatment is done for the share forfeited? So first of all, here we have 1 lakh shares which the company have issued and the public actually applied for 90,000 shares. So this is the case of under subscription where the number of shares issued are less than the subscribed or applied one. In that very case, we have to do the question for under subscribed share. So here the question would be done for 90,000 shares, right? And secondly, we have also to see that minimum subscription condition is fulfilled. What is minimum subscription condition? That the number of the shares which have been given to the public for subscription, at least 90% of them must have been subscribed by the public. Only then the company can step up with the application and allotment. Otherwise, the company cannot rule out for the case of that is your allotment, right? So in this case, this condition is fulfilled. The number of shares issued 1 lakh, its 90% is subscribed, that is 90,000, at least 90,000 is the case. If in this case the number of shares would have been less, then subscription was not possible. So now we carry along the question that how many number of shares we have to attempt the question, that is for 90,000 number of shares we have to complete this very question. So let's see how the money have been called up. 6 rupees on application and 4 rupees on allotment. And the shareholder holding 1,000 share did not pay the allotment money. So there is a point of cause in arrears. We have to that very point, that is in relation to your cause in arrears also. So first of all, as I told you that we will receive the money whenever there is a case of your share application. So here bank account debit to share application account. With what case we have to do the question? That being application money received, and here application money is received on 90,000 shares for rupees 6. What was the amount of application? That was 6. So 5,40,000 which is received on application should be transferred to the equity share capital account. So equity share application account debit to equity share capital account. The next account which we follow over here is that is to transfer it to the share capital account. So we transfer this amount 5,40,000 to which particular account? That is equity share capital. Being application money transferred to equity share capital account. So this was the second entry which we generated over here from your received amount on application. Now the third case is, firstly we have to make due from allotment, not to receive for allotment, right? So what we have to do over here is, that is we have to make a due for allotment. So equity share allotment account debit. Allotment is due on which we have on equity share capital point here. So here the allotment is due on 90,000 share with how much value? That is rupees 4. So how much amount is callable here is 3,60,000. Take the same example as I told you of a school or a college, that when you are asked to pay the next quarter fees, that is the due entry over here, you will write here being equity share allotment due, right? But when we were to receive, there were few people, like here one shareholder holding 1,000 share had not paid what was due on allotment. That means when we were to receive our allotment money, with what allotment money was due. Equity share allotment was due with rupees 3,60,000 being 90,000 called up on for rupees 4 per share, right? But there were few shareholders. In this case, there is only one shareholder who is holding how many number of shares? That is 1,000. So when we asked him to make the payment, he has not paid us 1,000 shares. On 1,000 share rupees 4 per share, right? So how much amount is not received? That is 4,000 rupees is not received. Out of 3,60,000 is 4,000 is not received. How much we have received? That is 3,56,000 rupees. Now in this case, on 90,000 actually we called 1,000 shares, we have not received any amount of allotment. So how many number of shares we receive allotment is on 89,000 shares. This is not required as such here. You can calculate the figure from here also. But that is to only make the further calculations easy. In the upcoming cases, there will be more points. We should know how to take it, right? So here we got the cause in arrears being application money, allotment money received, right? So we pass the narration also here. So this is the fourth point where we will finish in the earlier videos also, that there must be some cause in arrears when we debit them. But here he is saying that these shares which on which there was a due for allotment have been forfeited. Now what is forfeited? We need to understand this particular term. So here I am with an example for you. As you know that some of the cases, the people also buy the things on installment basis, right? So let's take an example that one motorbike is sold on installment basis, right? One motorbike is on installment basis. Now think over here that it is consisting of installment of rupees 10,000, let 12 installments are there, right? So the bike would be of value 1,20,000 if the 12 installments are there and each installment is of rupees 10,000, right? So the person to whom this one bike was sold, let's say he has paid only, supposing it to be the 7 installments. Okay, he has paid 7 installments. So how much money he has paid on the 7 installment? That is 70,000 rupees. He has actually paid 70,000. So how much amount have not been paid by him, or you can say how much amount is in arrears? That is rupees. In this case, 5 installments are pending with 50,000 rupees total is pending, right? So what the firm gonna do? The firm who is selling this motorbike, what they gonna do? They will get their motorbike back at their showroom, right? And they gonna sell it second hand because they won't keep it with themselves. They gonna sell it for the second hand, and they will again receive the money for second hand sale. But the point is this: when they are bringing back their motorbike, this in the case of the share capital is known as shares forfeited, right? When the company buys its shares back, got its shares back, not buy, that is they are bringing their shares back for not the full payment of the money, that is known as the case of the share forfeiture, share forfeited, right? So in this case, the amount which has not been paid, it is written, it is known as cause in arrears. The amount which has been paid by the shareholder is known as share forfeited account. Now let's understand this point here. When the share capital was issued, we were giving a credit to our equity share capital when the share capital was issued, right? But now we are forfeiting the shares, right? Shares have been forfeited. So what was credited should be be debited now. What is to be debited now? Equity share capital account is to be debited, because when we made an issue it was credited. Now we are bringing back them, so it should be debited. Now, how many number of shares you are bringing back to yourself is 1000 number of shares. With what amount they were called up? They were, in this case, a total of rupees 10 was asked from the shareholder, right? So here it is multiplied by 10. How much was total called up? That was rupees 10. Again and again I am saying that you have to multiply here with the called up value. What is the called up value? That is, in case of share, here he says shares have been forfeited after the allotment, right? So that means shares were called up till allotment. Until allotment, how much money was called up? That is rupees total 10. So equity share capital we got back for rupees 10,000, on which the part value was paid and part value was not paid. What was not paid was in which account? Calls in arrears account. Opposite we have to do. Calls in arrears were debited, now they have to be credited, right? So with what value they have been credited now? 4,000. Out of 10 rupees, 4 rupees is already being credited in the calls in arrears account. The rest should go to which account? That is shares forfeiture account. Which account we are having here is share forfeiture account. Now share forfeiture account is with the paid up money of the shareholder. How much he has paid on 1000 shares? He has paid only application money, rupees 6. So how much is the paid value here? That is 6,000. Now understand this thing, when the company is buying their shares, not exactly buying, that is forfeiting their shares back, in that very case 1000 shares were multiplied by 10, right? 10 was the total called amount, in which he has paid rupees 6, not paid is rupees 4. On 1000 shares it becomes 6,000 and 4,000 here, right? So this is the journal for your share forfeiture equity share capital account debit to share forfeiture account to calls in arrears account. The point here, the next important point here is the money with which, now see over here, when the company is taking their shares back, along with they are not refunding the money which they have received. This share forfeiture shows 6,000 rupees that the company have already received. They want to refund this money. So if they are not refunding this money, this shows actually gain to the company. It is the gain of the company because it is credited. Here it is no more liability. If it is not liability, it should be a revenue or income. So here it is an income, right? It is a gain to the company who has bought their shares back also and have not refunded the money on the shares which they have received, right? So here 6,000 is the gain of the company. Now, being shares forfeited is the narration here, being shares forfeited. Now 6th point, when he says that the forfeited shares were again reissued. When the shares will go into the market, again they would be sold, as here motorbike was sold as a second hand. When you will sell something, you will receive the money. So which account is to be debited? Bank account. Now you are selling the shares again. So but of course what is going out? That is your equity share capital is again going into the market, right? So here the journal becomes bank account debit to equity share capital. Let's see what else is there. He says they were issued for 10 per share. These all shares, these all 1000 shares were reissued for 10 per share, and What is the paid up value? They are saying fully paid up. So what was the full value of the share that was 10? So here it is to be credited again with rupees 10. Here I have not taken the case of your loss. Just simply 10 rupees share has been issued in the market for rupees 10. So there is no gain or loss on reissue because the debit is equals to the credit in this case, being shares, forfeited shares reissued, right? So we reissued the share. When we are reissuing the share, in that very case, whatever is the gain to the firm, now that gain should be transferred to a particular account here. Which account is that? Share forfeiture account debit. Which account we are transferring it to is capital reserve account. You have to make a transfer that this gain is now of which company, right? This total gain is belonging to the company because these shares have been reissued for no loss case. There was no loss here. So out of this gain, nothing was deductible because they were issued at par. So the full value of gain is transferred to which account? That is your capital reserve account in this case. So what we did actually, what was the profit here? That was 6,000 that have been transferred to the capital reserve account, being share forfeiture account transferred to capital reserve account, or gain on the shares forfeited transferred to the capital reserve account, right? So what 3 journal entries we learned today for the forfeiture cases? First of all, you will take your shares back for the calls in arrears and for the paid up value. Paid up value would be transferred to the share forfeiture account. Then these shares would be reissued in the market, bank account debit to equity share capital account. Now in this case I kept it simple. We will take the another version also. Now after that, whatever is the gain on the after reissuing the shares should be transferred to which account? That is your capital reserve account. So here we understood the topic of the under subscription also, minimum subscription also. Later on, the calls in arrears on the shares, when we forfeited them, when we reissued them, and how the profit is transferred. This particular part would carry a number of versions. We will discuss them in the upcoming videos. Along with the pro rata cases, they are also left, but I am not taking right now pro rata because we need to discuss more about the reissue. When this part of ours is strong, then only I will shift to the pro rata case, right? So thanks for the day, Accountancy. Kindly like, share and subscribe. Keep scoring.